coming Friday night, there is a youth activity in Lexington in their new church, and Brother Jonathan is going to go, and he's willing to take young people that you parents are good with going, okay? I just wanted to let you know that. We're not asking you, we're not setting this up as a formal youth gathering. We're just telling you he's going to be going, and if you want your child to go and they're in the youth age, he's your guy, okay? And they're having that youth event there. God bless you all today. I have enjoyed being part of this Blueprints for Life series. And my dad has been a builder, so all my life I've been around building. I have some cousins. Matter of fact, some of these young men tease me. We went to Branson several years ago, and I introduced them to my cousin. He was a building superintendent and happened to have built some things in Branson. If you've been to the IMAX Theater in Branson, my cousin was the superintendent that built that. If you went to the old Ray Stevens Theater, he worked there. And the Andy Williams Theater, he was the guy who ran the punch list on the Andy Williams Theater. Now, the punch list, there may be somebody explain it better than me here in a minute, but the punch list is when the job's pretty much finished, somebody has to go in and see either what was done incorrectly or left off or some little item that got forgotten, and he's responsible to make sure all of those things that get on that punch list are punched out and taken care of. Somebody may have put a light fixture in backwards. Somebody may have failed to paint the trim. The carpet may be ripped over here. The doorknobs may not be put on right somewhere, or there may be something that's totally left off, and that guy has to clean up the mess and make sure it's presentable so that when the owners come, everything is perfect just as the blueprints called for. And so we've asked Brother Keith to do the punch list. The stuff that Glenn and I and John and whoever else helped us, John Thompson and John Ellingsworth, we probably left a whole lot of things out. So we got a real builder to help us. You all may not understand quite. The reason our buildings are nice is because a lot of times at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, Brother Keith is here working on stuff, changing light bulbs, rearranging things. You probably don't realize it, but a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now, I think we had a termite infestation that ate up part of our walls. That was all fixed. You probably never knew about it because Brother Keith took care of it. A lot of things happen here because of his knowledge and a practical experience with building. And so this is kind of, he will tell you this is out of his element, but I'm telling you it's really in his element. This guy's a good teacher. Brother Keith, come and do this punch list today.
Thank you, Brother Doug. Well, here we go. I hope y'all packed a lunch because this is going to be it might take it. Let me get my notes here. I got them scattered everywhere, and let's see here. Brother Tim is going to read some scriptures for me. Brother Doug, would you take him a mic for me, please? Okay, John T. asked me to do this for the youth group 6, 8 months ago, whenever we done that, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I finally said, yeah, and I'd do it, and so I've done it, and is it not on?
No, it's just, they want to clip it on the top.
Oh. Is that better? Okay. So I done it, and I got all my notes together, kind of like I do today, and I finally just throwed them out and just had to talk. Okay? So that may be what happens today. But it ain't for lack of trying. And if his phone would keep my notes up, that'd be all right. So Brother Doug asked me to do it again, and I reluctantly kind of dodged it for a few days, and I kind of thought about it, and I dodged it, and I thought about it, and week 4 last, after the message, I was out in the foyer, and I listened to it, and whoo, it got thick. I mean, he just jabbing right there, and just kept on giving me nuggets and nuggets and nuggets, and I said, All right, okay. I said, all right, God. I said, if he asks me today, I'm going to tell him, yeah, I'll do it. He was the first one out that door after church, and he asked me. I said, okay, I'll do it. So here we are. So it's not me, it's God, okay? If it all comes out right, it's God. If it's messed up, it's Keith. So just give credit where it's credit's due. I've kind of given, my message has several titles. Blueprints for Life, Building and Remodeling. There's a bunch of different titles. You can pull what you want to out of it. I don't want to discredit anything that others have said, because I may be going at a different angle to get a different perspective. So just weigh that out there. I want to start with Tim. Would you read Matthew 7:24 for me?
Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man which built his house upon the sand.
Everybody's heard that all of our lives since we was little bitty, right? I mean, I say little bitty. Most of us have. I think I was 5 when I started coming to this church. Sister Lois was my Sunday school teacher. In that Sunday school room, that's not a Sunday school room over there, that I remodeled the bathroom last year, and it's a bathroom now. So we've all been listening to that for a long time. And one of my first houses that I built, or had built, they come in and it was on a concrete slab, and they dug the foundation. And this foundation, they dug down to the solid dirt all the way around, and then they put their forms up. And then they had some low places here and there, and then they wanted to haul in sand. I said, oh, no, you don't put no sand under a house. I didn't listen to this long enough. I know better. You don't do that. They said, no, so it's encapsulated. You got to, we dug down to the dirt. The sand can't get out, and so it won't compress. So they convinced me, okay, that's what we'll do. Come find out. That's what under this house, this church. It's got, it's got sand under the middle of it, but it's encapsulated. So I had to get past that. So some of our foundations are concrete, monolithic slabs, all right, which this is. Some of our foundations is pier and beam, okay? Pier and beam is what most of your houses are on, okay? The pier and beam, let me just show you here. This is your front wall of your house. Let's use this as a front wall. You're looking at the end view. This is the front wall of the house. This is the back wall of the house. And that middle wall that runs down right down the middle of your house. Load-bearing wall, right? When you get your foundation laid here and here, and then they dig down to solid footing, all right? And then they get this right here where it's supposed to be, and get them all lined up, all right? Then now I know this board don't go the way it is, but anyhow, this will give us our analogy anyhow. You take and put our wall. We got a wall right here, right? We got a wall right here. We got a wall right here. And if I can do that without falling, we got a wall right here. Okay. But because that's where our supports are. Okay? That's where our foundation is. If we put our wall right here, what's that going to do? It ain't going to work for long. It's going to be all right for a few days, maybe a couple of years or something like that. But believe it or not, I've remodeled houses like that. That's where the building and remodeling is coming from. New construction, they're going to build it here, here, and here. Some of the remodeling I've done, I went in and somebody had blown in 1970s house. They had all their floor work done, and then they started putting up walls wherever they wanted to put up walls. They didn't pay attention where this foundation was. This center wall, this load-bearing wall that takes all the weight off this house, and they put them over here. That don't make y'all think I'm fixing to break this board, don't you? And they put it over here, and that's exactly what this house done. It humped up there, and it had a hump in it. So, what do? I asked Brother Harvey what to do about it that one day. He said, well, first thing you do is you go in and sit down and cry. And that sounds, like something he would say. But there's things you can do to correct that. Just because your house, maybe not a new house, and you got to remodel, we can get a bell jack, can't we, Tim? We can get a bell jack and put under there and adjust that bell jack and raise this right back up where it's supposed to be to get that support to where this center wall has support right straight to the ground. Now there is I kind of jumped over something here. I had foundation, okay? The definition, Wikipedia definition of foundation. In engineering, a foundation is an element of a structure which connects it to ground and transfers loads from the structure to the ground. Foundations are generally considered either shallow or deep. This would be a shallow foundation. The Sears Tower in Chicago is a deep foundation. It goes several deep. Just a thought, foundations probably are the most vital thing on a house. That's the first thing you start with, all right? They're probably never visible after the construction is complete, but they'll always be there if you get the foundation to fit the building, all right? If you overbuild the foundation to where, say, you want to add a second story, that's okay. But if you do it before, you can do that. If you don't do it before, you can't. You haven't got the ability to grow. You got to get that solid, deep foundation. Get it wide enough that it'll keep that wall straight and keep from tipping. Another thing about a foundation, somebody got dirty building that foundation. There's not a clean way. There's not a clean way to work on a foundation, is it, Tim? There's not a clean way to do it. You're going to get dirty. Somebody's going to get dirty. Somebody's going to sweat. All right? Think about your lives. Think about your parents. Did they have to do a lot to help you build your foundation in your Christian life? When they took you to church, when they led you the right direction, it wasn't always the best time. It didn't always fit the time. We're going to go do this. We're going to go do that. We're going to go do this. We're going to go do it at church. We're going to go do this. But they you lay that foundation in your Christian life, okay? Just think about it. If think about it like maybe in our Christian lives, maybe from infant to 20, as parents, we're helping our kids build their house maybe. Because we're going to do that. We're going to do everything in our power to help them build their house. Whether it's a physical house, but when their Christian walk, we're going to help them build their house. We're going to be there. We're going to help them build that foundation. We're going to say, we got to get this right. We got to get it right on line. We got to get it where it's supposed to be, because you want to be able to make this thing work. All right. Once they get that foundation, all right, and they start building on that, I guess after maybe we're 18 or 20 years old, that's when we start more of a maintenance and a remodeling. Okay. When we're taking care of our house. How do we take care of our house? How do we maintain our house? Prayer. Bible. Church. All these things. That helps us keep maintained, keeps us right on cue, helps us building those walls where they're supposed to be. The pastor's telling us, helping us put these walls where they're supposed to be, leading and guiding. I'll maybe swing back around on something on foundations here in a minute when I think of it. But so we've got a set of plans, okay? Let me check my. Tim, Genesis 6:15 and 16.
Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. And this is the fashion with which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. A window shalt thou make to the ark, and in the cubits shalt thou finish it above. And the door of the ark shalt thou set it inside thereof. With lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it.
What kind of plans, right? They had plans. I know some of y'all have seen these. It's been a while since I've seen them, but I dug them back out. This is all the pages to our plans. Here's a whole box of them, okay? Whole box of them, of plans to Union Station, okay? There's the plans to a house right there. There's another plan. This plan right here, for instance, we got our site plan. We got our first floor plan, our second floor plan, our elevation views, our building details, our foundational structure, our framing structure, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Okay, I think an analogy I used with Damon and some of the other, might have been Luke too, I don't know. But I give each one of them, one of them was a plumber, one of them was an electrician, one of them was the framer. And as a general contractor, he sees all the plans. He's got all of them. That whole book of plans, he's got them, and he's looking at all of them, okay? But when I give the plumber or the electrician or the framer their plans, I've given them their plans. They hadn't got to worry about all. They don't have to. The framer don't have to worry about the electrician's plans. But if they change anything, what does that do? That throws a monkey wrench in it. Then you got to go back to our contractor, which there in turn goes back to our architect. Says, we changed this. Well, I don't, do you remember, wasn't those plans 50 grand or something like that when they done those? I'd hate to know I had to have plans drawn up again and edited after spending $50,000 for them, okay? But imagine God's got this that's been tried and true, okay? How many generations? How many generations has it lasted? Okay. How deep does it go? All right. Does it go like the Sears Tower? I mean, it's deep. All right. But when they do change stuff, all right, in these plants, they've got to go all the way back and then start all over and get it all modified and change it to where it'll actually work. John, throw that picture up there if it worked. Yeah, can y'all see that a little bit? It's part of those house plans. It's kind of crooked, but anyhow. You see the arrows up and down? That middle floor, let's bump it up there a little bit and slide it up. I don't know if you can or not. Anyhow, the middle floor, see that yellow streak going through the middle floor there? It used to be a wall, all right? Before we started building this house, we took that wall out, but we had to re-engineer it because that wall's not there anymore. But we had to put a load-carrying beam in there to take care of the wall, all right? It still supports the load. It still supports the load, but we was able to do it ahead of time rather than after. If we hadn't have known it ahead of time, we couldn't have took that wall out because our weight going all the way down, up and down. So that was just an idea of if you're going to change plans in something, you got to go right straight to the source. All right, and that source, if that architect says it won't work, it won't span that. It's not going to work like that. You got to do it like this. Then that's what you got to do if you want your house to stand. All right? Now, if I'm all over the board, just bear with me. Grab hold and hang on. It may be a rough ride. That's what my father-in-law used to tell my son when they ride on a tractor. He said, hang on, baby, it'll be a rough ride. Going back to our scenario right here, the stress and strain that's on this beam right here toward the end, and the stress and strain that's on this corner here. All your wall in the wrong place is just going to cause you stress and everybody else stress that's helping you along. So if you see that your wall is not on a good firm foundation, you need to stoke up the foundation and get you some meat under it. Another element in the foundations that I forgot to mention too is down inside under these blocks where you got that ugly foundation, you got that ugly concrete buried down in that thing. You've got steel rebar that's inside there, that's put inside that foundation to help support that for seismic. You know, if you're going to build a patio, you might not have to have rebar in it. But if you're going to build a house, you need to have rebar in it to support the seismic element. that's another one of these things that's goes back to the architect. He knows what's required. Just because, so like I said, just because we might have bought a house. I bought a house and it was, I bought several of them that wasn't in the best of shape, and remodeling, and had to go back and fix the structures, fix the foundations, fix the center wall, get it raised up and jacked up, and get it to where it would actually be no problems. But if we've been in a church all our lives and we've got that foundation, don't think we hadn't messed up, you know. We might have messed up and done this and done that and might have weakened this and weakened that, but there's always those supports that we can use to put back in there to re-support. Now, will there always be, you know, when you're going back to fix something, all right, when you're going back to fix something, don't think dragging those concrete blocks from one end of the house to the other. Doing the army crawl, scoot and drag and scoot and drag, and then go back and get another one and scoot and drag and get that. You got this much space underneath that house, and get that shovel to dig your footing to set that block. Don't think there won't be some bloodshed and some sweat. It's gonna be tiring. It's gonna be a lot of work. So you get you get out of it what you put into it. You got to get it, you know, just put the support in there. Counting the cost. Luke 14:28.
For which of you intending to build a tower sitteth not down first, and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it?
How many of us have started a project and stopped because we run out of funds? You know, because we didn't. I've got a basement that ain't finished right now after 22 years because every time I started to finish it, I run out of time or my funds got used for something else. I know another fellow that we've got a project going, you know, and we don't know how much it's going to cost. But it's counting the cost. We got to count the cost up front to see where we're at, what we got to do, what all we're going to have to do to take care of this. I learned something else on a house, on Tim's house, working on it, that come to mind. The brick foundation, bricks and blocks, have got mortar between the blocks. All right, everybody understand what I'm talking about? It's those blocks are raised up and there's mortar between them most of the time. After a house is 120 years old, some of that mortar goes to sand. When that sand starts oozing out, then that foundation starts trying to get whumpy-jawed. All right? Sometimes you have to take a little blood, sweat, and tears on that and get rid of that loose sand that's trying to ooze out. You got to get rid of that stuff and put all new mortar back in those cracks to keep it from getting out. So sometimes that extra maintenance, trying to keep on our foundation, that's required to keep no matter how good that bottom foundation is, this top part above the ground, it's got to be taken care of too in order to be stout. And one more scripture. Tim. Romans 8:28.
And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose.
When you come to get your plans, and you got your electrician and you got your plumber and everybody, when it's all said and done, it all comes together to work out like it's supposed to. All right? God said, what's the definition of some? What's the definition of some? That's part, right? What's the definition of all? That's complete. He didn't say some things would work out. He said all things will work out. And one of our sayings around our house, my kids, my wife, just bounced right back at me on it. Said, don't worry about it. It's going to all work out like it's supposed to. And my prayers today, and I hope my talk worked out like it's supposed to today. And my prayers for y'all is I hope everything works out like it's supposed to. Thank you.
Were you going to teach us something about that board there?
Did you?
Please.
Okay. I forgot about my board here. This is the same material. Both of these are the same material. Bought at the same time. And sometimes we got good lumber that'll lay flat. Will do like it's supposed to. And then sometimes we got lumber that don't do exactly like it's supposed to. And you have to, well, it just won't work for some things. That lumber right there, it just won't work for some things. At Lowe's, Angie, they'd call that a coil, wouldn't they? And what do they do with the coils? A lot of times they throw them away or they sell them to Keith real cheap. Because I can do something with them sometimes depending on what I'm working on. But, just because your boards are not exactly straight, just because I'm not exactly perfect, don't mean that right there can't be used somewhere to make a big difference. When you get it in the right place, it can be used. And that was it. That's all. Unless, well, I must have did my notes. Yeah. Me and Tim's used this a lot here last few days. We got part of our homes, buildings, whatever. We got certain tools. There again. Certain tools. Squares. Got level. And we got an automatic level. That automatic level, it's the snizzle. I mean, it's all right. But it goes all the way around that room. Shut them lights off for just a second, some of them. Everybody see all the way around that room? Oh, it's wanting a G-hole now. See that line all the way around the room? That's plumb. That's level all the way around the room. Tools like we get at church to keep our lives on the level, so we can take and keep things straight. Straight shot. And that's it.
Thank you, Brother Keith. I told you a little experience added to what we were saying would certainly benefit us all. He's braver than I am. I'm holding on. But he has confidence in his foundation. He knows who put these here, and he knows whether he could stand on them or not. When you build on the Word of God, sometimes it feels a little unsettling. But after you've walked with Him a while, after you've walked with Him a few years and gone through some rough times, you can trust that foundation. You learn to trust that foundation. That's why it's so important for our young people to understand that don't throw everything that your parents taught you out the window because some college professor or some pretty little girl or some big, strong, husky guy tells you they know something better. Because the foundation that built you is the one that your parents have put under you. And before you start getting rid of things, make sure you know what purpose they filled. Because a lot of times it's walking with God that makes all the difference over time. You need some experience with you. In the story of Jacob and Esau, if you remember, were twin brothers. And when Jacob had to hurry and leave home because his older brother was upset with him, he had an encounter that night by himself out on a mountain. And in that encounter, he saw a vision of heaven, and the Lord met him there. But when you read that story again, and you can go back in the book of Genesis, and you ought to read that today, but you read about a man who grew up as a third-generation covenant young man. But he had to make his own commitment to God and develop his own experience with God, and he started it right there on that mountain. Amen. Thank you again, Brother Keith. God bless you today. Thanks for being here. Next Sunday at 2, there is a baby shower. Who's that for? For Rachel. 2 o'clock next Sunday here at Union Station. Thanks to all of you who worked hard this past week to get the building ready and to make it available for the Walker family. Thank you very much for doing that while we were out of town. We want to continue to pray for them there. We could talk about foundation a little bit today, that Walker family. And God bless all of you. If you'll stand with me. God is faithful. Please continue to pray for our church in Arlington and the church in Seattle. In Seattle, they're still not able to have church together, but in the process, they just worked hard to rebuild a little room, just a small room. They did a lot of this building we're talking about, and it violated the lease of the building, and they cannot use it. They rented it from a guy who had leased the building. And in his lease agreement, which Ryan didn't see,